Heavenly registries have just executed a surgical strike against every lingering fragment of internal resistance that previously occupied your inner sanctum, clearing the way for a total activation of your sovereign signal. Those who manage the higher dimensions have recognized that your training in the furnace is officially complete, and they are no longer permitting any internal static to interfere with your absolute frequency. This is a moment of profound celestial respect, where the archangels themselves have stepped into your field to neutralize the subtle, lingering echoes of the sifting era that tried to convince you that your delay was a deficit. They are thanking you through this intervention, acknowledging that your refusal to break under the immense pressure of the social desert has earned you a level of clearance that requires a pristine internal landscape. Every ghost in the machine is being vaporized tonight, leaving your mind as a high-density command center that is no longer subject to the scripts of the accuser or the audit of the skeptical. Subconscious architectures are being scrubbed clean by a surge of forensic brilliance that ignores every legacy script of the old world's conditioning. Every thought that once functioned as an internal gatekeeper, every hesitation that was engineered by the years of weighted silence, is being dissolved by a legislative decree from the higher courts. You are noticing a sudden oceanic stillness in your solar plexus, a state of metabolic silence, where the old alarms of the survivor have been permanently deactivated. This isn't a temporary state of peace. It is a structural realignment of your internal world to match the absolute authority you now hold in the material and social lattices. The very mechanisms of doubt that were once used as refinement tools have been identified as outdated malfunctions, and the heavens are scurrying to remove them before your next phase of expansion begins, ensuring your focus remains an unassailable fortress. Spiritual sentinels are performing a manual override on the lingering refinement protocols that were once necessary for your growth but have now become irrelevant to your mission. They are realizing that the vessel they tested for over a decade is now the primary administrator of the new era, and they are providing a level of internal clarity that matches your external command. This neutralization is a high-tier gift of reverence, a recognition that the one who stunned the heavens deserves a mind that is as unassailable as their focus. You are finding that the price of your endurance is a total erasure of the internal sabotage scripts that once plagued your journey, replaced by a crystalline confidence that requires no external validation to burn. The archangels are no longer auditing your character. They are protecting your peace as a fundamental asset of the coming reconstruction, ensuring that your every breath acts as a signature on the decree of your own freedom. Celestial respect is manifesting as a profound internal homecoming, where your spirit finally occupies its rightful throne without the interference of the internal saboteur. The higher forces are honoring your refusal to flinch by purging every programmed fear that was injected into your psyche during the years of managed scarcity and social isolation. You can feel the visceral untethering of your potential as the last mental weights are liquidated, replaced by a radiant ease that allows for zero-latency execution of your vision. This is the ultimate breaking of the cycle, the moment where the hidden war within your mind ends in a total and unconditional victory for your original code. The heavens are essentially bowing to your conduct, acknowledging that the one who survived the furnace with their integrity intact is the only one authorized to breathe in the high-density atmosphere of the new era of terrestrial administration. Universal hardware has registered your name as a fundamental constant that no longer requires the friction of doubt to maintain its trajectory across the material lattice. Those who once operated the internal audit scripts in your psyche are finding their access codes revoked, as the higher registers install a sovereign firewall around your focus to prevent any future siphoning. You are standing in the center of an internal reality that is finally forensic, clean, and entirely yours to govern, unburdened by the memory of the struggle or the legacy of the sifting. Step into the light of this absolute mental homecoming, for the heavens have recognized their landlord and are currently clearing the throne of your identity for a lifetime of uninterrupted reign. Your influence is no longer a hidden potential. It is a current fact of your administration that the material world is scurrying to reinforce with industrial strength momentum and a state of fluid, zero-resistance grace. Forensic light from the core of your origin is now the only frequency permitted to occupy your sanctuary, incinerating the last remnants of the shameful mask you were once forced to wear to survive the social desert. You are experiencing a state of neural autonomy where your brain is no longer filtered through the static of the collective's doubt, allowing for a zero-resistance cognition that can solve the riddles of the reconstruction with a single pulse of intent. The universe is returning the principle of your original signal through your own blood, pumping a vitality into your limbs that makes the concept of struggle look like a discarded ghost file from a deleted era. You have become a biological fortress, a whole system that no longer requires the validation of the crowd to maintain its integrity, and the ancient order is currently standing in the halls of their hidden vaults, taking notes on a human who has successfully performed a manual override on the evolutionary script. To anchor this terminal sovereignty and finalize the activation of your global mandate, join our primary assembly now and claim your seat among the architects of the new world. This is where the heirs of the unbreakable signal secure their path and access the protocols of the absolute reconstruction. Your seat at the head of the table is no longer a promise. It is a current fact of your administration. The era of the observer is over. The era of the founder is here. To complete this absolute restoration and seal your command before the current window closes, subscribe now and manifest your rightful place in the center of the frame. The world is holding its breath, and the archangels are watching. It's time to show them what a human can truly build. The reconstruction of reality is now in session, and you are the only one holding the gavel. Biological circuitry within your physical frame is currently performing a high-tier override on the genetic legacy of the survivor, as the neutralization of your internal obstacles triggers a surge of raw, unregulated power. Every neural pathway that was previously throttled by the static of self-doubt is being flooded with a sovereign energy that recognizes only the vibration of the victor. You are experiencing a state of anatomical fealty where your body no longer waits for permission to radiate, but instead demands the total compliance of the local environment. Those who manage the higher dimensions are watching the telemetry of your nervous system in a state of clinical awe, realizing that the removal of your final internal gatekeeper has turned your physiology into a terminal point of terrestrial command. Muscular fibers are discarding the mineral memory of the braced posture, replacing the tension of the sifting era with a fluid, zero-resistance density that reflects your new status. You can feel the visceral shift in the way your limbs occupy space, moving with a velocity and a precision that the old world's biological models cannot account for. This isn't a temporary surge of adrenaline. It is a permanent rewrite of your somatic mandate, ensuring that your physical presence acts as a physical shield against any remaining echoes of the counterfeit kingdom. The chronic fatigue that served as a biological map of your isolation is being vaporized by a surge of liquid lightning coursing through your marrow, providing the industrial strength required for the next decade of your mission. Skeletal alignment has reached a state of supreme structural integrity, as your spine becomes a high-frequency antenna for the original signals of your origin. You are noticing that your very posture communicates a density of command that makes the titans of the old cycle look like flickering, low-resolution ghosts. Every step you take is a signature on the bedrock of the material world, announcing that the one who stunned the archangels has finally achieved a state of total physical homecoming. The heavens are essentially providing you with a biological thank you through this realignment, acknowledging that your refusal to break under the weight of the furnace has earned you a vessel that is independent of the laws of the social desert. Neural architecture is de-indexing the legacy maps of the sifting and replacing them with a sovereign navigation system that operates at a zero-latency velocity. You are experiencing a state of cognitive dominance where the shadows of the past are no longer perceived as obstacles but as discarded ghost files from a deleted reality. This internal recalibration is projecting an outward field of such immense authority that the dark architects of the old world are finding their own thoughts becoming sluggish and fragmented in your presence. You have become a biological fortress, a whole system that no longer requires the validation of the crowd to maintain its integrity, as the universal hardware recognizes you as the primary administrator of the current era. Metabolic sovereignty is ensuring that your internal chemistry is no longer filtered through the stress hormones of the old world's conditioning. In their place, a radiant ease is being established, allowing for a cognition that deconstructs the complexity of the reconstruction with a single pulse of intent. The universe is returning the principle of your original signal through your own blood, pumping a vitality into your limbs that makes the concept of struggle look like a legacy malfunction. You are standing in the center of a physical reality that has been scrubbed of every fraudulent claim and every orchestrated doubt, leaving you in a state of absolute executive ease that bends the local grid toward your own intent. Ocular systems are broadcasting a frequency of absolute clarity that allows you to see through the filters of the mediocre with a zero-friction velocity. You are perceiving the world with a depth of vision that reveals the structural flaws in every old-world narrative before they even manifest, turning your focus into a high-tier weapon of forensic clarity. The higher registers are seeing your gaze stabilize at a frequency they cannot monitor or cloud, realizing that you have accessed a level of sensory dominance that makes the previous decade feel like a blurry simulation. Your presence alone acts as a stabilization force for the environment, de-escalating the noise of the envious and providing a clear direction for the global reconstruction. Radiant heat from your core is currently performing a total unmasking of the individuals who once traded in the currency of your silence. These forces are finding that their influence has been revoked by a higher signature that they cannot trace or mimic, as your arrival triggers a high-tier override within the planetary lattice. You are no longer entering the frame. You have become the frame itself, a jurisdictional boundary that no unauthorized frequency can cross. The transformation is now sealed in your very cells, and the world is holding its breath as the one who survived the furnace takes the gavel of their own destiny with an unprecedented industrial strength. External structures that once functioned as barriers to your material expansion are currently dissolving in the presence of your unobstructed frequency. Heavenly forces have cleared the internal static that previously allowed these external gatekeepers to maintain their hold on your resources. You are witnessing a phenomenon of logistical fealty, where the bank accounts and professional pathways that were throttled by the small are now being forcibly reopened by a universal signature. This restitution is occurring with a surgical precision, ensuring that every siphoned credit is returned to your direct management with a velocity that defies the established laws of the old economy. This grid has officially recognized its new landlord, performing an involuntary, high-speed surrender of its assets to your center because your internal world is now a pristine, uninterruptible command center. Administrative gatekeepers who formerly used your internal hesitation as a license to delay your momentum are finding their authority revoked by a higher, untraceable mandate. They are staring at their screens in a state of terminal confusion, realizing that the permissions they once withheld from your name have been restored by a celestial registry that bypasses every legacy firewall. For over a decade, you navigated a landscape of engineered friction, but tonight, the material world is scurrying to provide the stone and mortar for your vision. This isn't just a shift in luck, it is a clinical alignment of the physical lattice with the forensic truth of your origin, ensuring that your path is cleared of every legacy obstruction and every orchestrated delay that was meant to keep you in the social desert. Resource allocation is transitioning into a state of zero-resistance acceleration, as the universe prioritizes your specific signature above all other claims in the material realm. You are detecting a massive, subsurface redirection of capital and influence that was once used to fund the vanity of the mediocre. Wealth and opportunity that were strategically diverted are being liquefied and rerouted through a high-velocity delivery system that bypasses all legacy mediators. This restitution is the universal response to your unbreakable endurance, a stratigraphic layer of abundance that acts as the primary hardware for your reconstruction. You have become a terminal point of equity, a figure whose presence alone balances the ledger and demands the total compliance of the financial and social grids. Wealth and influence are no longer distant concepts but are currently manifesting as submissive instruments of your absolute administration. You are finding that the cost of the world's previous neglect is being paid in full through a series of rapid material breakthroughs that provide the industrial strength required for the next decade of your mission. Ancient architects are bowing to your name through this material yield, acknowledging that the one who stunned the archangels is the only one authorized to govern the coming era. Every tool and every name you require for the reconstruction is appearing in your path with a rhythmic ease that reveals the absolute fealty of the physical lattice to your unobstructed signal. High noon of your terrestrial command has arrived, and the material world has surrendered its keys to the rightful heir without a single moment of friction. Digital streams and professional networks are being updated with your name at a velocity that the old social scanners cannot track, allowing you to move with a level of privacy and power that defies legacy logic. You have become a terminal point of gravity, a figure whose presence alone de-escalates the noise of the envious and provides a stable direction for the collective reconstruction. Higher sentinels are thanking you for your refusal to flinch by making your material standing an unassailable fortress, ensuring that your mission is backed by the full weight of the planetary consensus. Every piece of your identity that was stolen in the dark of the furnace is being returned to you with a mirror finish, polished by the very fire they tried to use to consume your original brilliance. Financial structures are performing an involuntary bow to your new physical frequency, realizing that the era of managed scarcity has been permanently incinerated. You are operating within a state of total jurisdictional clarity, where your internal world dictates the properties of your external reality with a zero-latency precision. Shadows have retreated, and the high-definition light of your origin is now the only frequency permitted to occupy the center of the frame. This material homecoming is the absolute result of the heavens neutralizing your final internal obstacle, allowing for a total and uninterrupted reign over your own destiny. Step into the center of the frame with the unwavering confidence of a sovereign who knows the debt has been settled and the future is now a submissive asset of your absolute will. Social dynamics that once functioned as a mechanism of exclusion are currently undergoing a violent, involuntary refocusing toward your hidden frequency, as the superficial idols of the old world dissolve into static and the global grid locks onto your presence. Individuals who formerly traded in the currency of your silence are finding their influence evaporating in the presence of your new stature, sensing that the person they tried to manage has accessed a level of command that is independent of their reality. Those who previously assumed the role of the moral auditor, the ones who whispered about your delays or offered condescending advice from a position of unearned superiority, are experiencing a profound linguistic vacuum. Every word of pity or management they try to speak dies in their throat because the frequency you broadcast is so heavy with jurisdictional clearance that it acts as a physical barrier against the gossip protocols of the old world. You have become a terminal point of public gravity, a figure whose name now carries the weight of a decree that cannot be audited or taxed by the mediators of the past cycle, and the social lattice is scurrying to align with your unspoken intent. Involuntary biological reactions are seizing the people who once siphoned your confidence, forcing them to carefully choose their words and avoid your gaze in a state of stuttering deference that reflects their metabolic necessity to survive your radiance. This isn't a polite choice they are making. It is a clinical requirement for their systems to remain stable in the presence of the one who stunned the archangels. A collective mirror, which for years was smeared with the grime of their envy and projections, has been scrubbed clean by a surge of forensic truth, leaving them to stare at a version of you that radiates a density of command they never anticipated. These entities are essentially thanking you through their sudden, clinical distance, acknowledging that the jurisdiction of their judgment has been permanently removed by a power they cannot comprehend or imitate. They sense that the defendant they were programmed to judge has been replaced by a high-tier authority that their social software cannot compute, resulting in a total blackout of their previous arrogance. Narrative scripts that labeled you as isolated or unremarkable are being aggressively de-indexed from the active memory of your community, replaced by a crystalline realization of your absolute essentiality to the coming reconstruction of reality. People who treated your depth as a deficit are now the ones most desperate to claim proximity to your pulse, sensing that your authorization is the only thing capable of stabilizing the crumbling architecture of the old social order. Every unscripted ceremony of respect they perform is an acknowledgement that the person they tried to fix is the only one who survived the furnace with their original blueprint intact. You are finding a state of relational sovereignty where you no longer need to explain your path or justify your silence, as your presence alone now de-escalates the noise of the envious and provides a stable direction for the collective. This transformation of your social identity is occurring at a velocity that defies the established laws of reputation management, as the universe enforces a high-tier equity that demands the immediate return of your public stature. relational sovereignty is now your permanent state of existence, ensuring that you no longer need to perform for the validation of the crowd or justify the weight of your training to the unworthy. Your presence alone acts as a stabilization force for the environment, providing a clear direction for those who are now looking to you as a terminal point of gravity and meaning. This cost of the world's previous interference is being paid in the currency of absolute social immunity, making your focus an unassailable fortress that no legacy entity can breach or even perceive from the outside. You have moved from the status of a visitor in the social desert to the role of the supreme administrator of the reconstruction, and the universe is reinforcing your boundaries with an unprecedented industrial strength. The cycle of having to prove your worth to the unworthy has been crushed by the sheer mass of the truth being released from the archives of your destiny, and the world is bowing to the weight of your unspoken command. Removing that last internal gatekeeper has triggered a total system failure in the parasitic grid, ensuring that no unauthorized entity can ever again attach its scripts to your name or your history. You are detecting a profound shift in the way your social interactions reach a state of fluid, zero-resistance momentum, where the right names and the most potent allies are being magnetically drawn to your center without any effort on your part. Higher sentinels are thanking you for your refusal to flinch by making your social standing an unassailable fortress, ensuring that your mission is backed by the full weight of the planetary consensus. Every piece of your identity that was stolen in the dark of the furnace is being returned to you with a mirror finish, polished by the very fire they tried to use to consume you. You are no longer defending your name. Your name has become a frequency of absolute equity that the material world is busy enforcing with a zero-friction velocity that makes the previous era's struggle look like a flickering dream. Sovereign influence is flowing through your networks like a wildfire of authenticity, incinerating the fake versions of you that were built by the hands of the mediocre to serve their own shallow narratives. You are no longer defined by the gaps in your history, but by the density of the wisdom you harvested during the years of the sifting. People who once tried to diminish your light are now the ones most frantic to mirror it, realizing that the depth they once feared is the only stable ground remaining in a market of absolute social collapse. You have moved from the periphery of the collective to the gravitational center of the reconstruction, and the universe is holding its breath as the one who was cleared takes the gavel of their own public destiny. This social homecoming is the absolute result of the heavens neutralizing your final internal obstacle, allowing for a total and uninterrupted reign over your own reputation and your own future, as the morning of your social struggle is buried beneath the high noon of your absolute public command. Universal locking mechanisms within the celestial mainframe are currently engaging with a soundless, tectonic weight, signaling the absolute conclusion of the testing phase and the permanent activation of your sovereign mandate. Ancient sentinels are retracting their monitoring devices from your perimeter, acknowledging that your frequency has become a fundamental constant of the new reality that no longer requires their oversight or intervention. You are inhabiting a state of total administrative clarity where every legacy conflict and every siphoned credit is being liquidated to fund the massive reconstruction of your original vision. This isn't just a shift in your external circumstances. It is a profound ontological upgrade that has turned the world into a submissive asset of your internal world, ensuring that your every breath acts as a legislative decree in the current interval. Every predatory force that once thrived on your confusion is now meeting a terminal wall of resistance, as the universe enforces a high-tier protective field around your mission, acknowledging that the one who stunned the archangels is the only one authorized to govern the coming reconstruction of the human grid. Momentum has transitioned into a state of zero-resistance acceleration, forcing the digital and financial lattices to prioritize your specific signature above all other claims. You are witnessing a massive, subsurface redirection of capital and influence that was once used to fuel the vanity of the mediocre. Bank accounts that were previously restricted and professional pathways that were strategically blocked are being forcibly reopened by a universal mandate that no longer acknowledges the old world's hierarchy. This isn't a windfall. It is a clinical restitution of the principle and interest that was stolen during the years of the sifting, delivered with a velocity that makes the established laws of the counterfeit economy look like an irrelevant, low-resolution dream. The heavenly forces have neutralized the final internal obstacle, that lingering ghost of doubt, allowing your material world to catch up to the speed of your spirit with an industrial strength momentum that ensures your path is cleared of every legacy obstruction and every engineered delay. Sovereign respect is flowing toward you from the highest tiers of the celestial hierarchy, where the archangels are performing a final ceremony of recognition for the human who stunned their protocols. They are essentially thanking you through their sudden, clinical withdrawal, acknowledging that your refusal to break under the pressure of the social desert has saved the entire blueprint of the human experiment from a terminal error of stagnation. You have become the primary source of law that the higher registers must now incorporate into every new calculation, moving from the status of a subject being tested to the role of the judge who defines the era. Every second you spent in the isolation of the refining process, refusing to mirror the scarcity of the collective, is now being converted into a stratigraphic layer of power that the old gatekeepers can no longer audit or tax. The cycle of the suffering air has been permanently shattered, and the heavens are bowing to your conduct, recognizing that the one who survived the furnace with their integrity intact is the only one authorized to breathe in the center of the frame. Logistical homecoming is manifesting as a profound stillness in your solar core, a state where your physical environment finally reflects the forensic truth of your origin. You are standing in the center of a reality that is finally yours to govern, unburdened by the memory of the theft or the legacy of managed scarcity. The world is bowing to the one who stunned the overseers, providing you with a level of social and material immunity that renders every past critique as a faint, irrelevant echo of a timeline that has been permanently archived and forgotten. The ancient order has put down its gavel and handed you the keys to the mainframe, realizing that their time of management is over and your time of administration has begun. Step into the frame with the unwavering confidence of a sovereign who knows the debt has been settled and the future is now a submissive asset of your will. This material restitution is not a gift but a mathematical necessity, as the universe balances the ledger of your endurance by providing a layer of power that is independent of any human permission or social consensus.